Senator Murray Watt, thanks for joining us. The government seems to be divided about drought strategy. The Nationals putting up their own plan publicly or leaking it rather than just going with a coalition public approach.
Absolutely. I mean, it hasn't taken this government very long since the election to get back to the kind of chaos that we saw within the government for the last 3 years. You know, we're not even at a 6-month point after the election, and we've already got the junior coalition partner to the Nationals squabbling with each other, talking about changing their leaders, failing their own constituencies in areas like drought and dairy. I really thought that after the election win that this government would really get it together, but unfortunately they're back to their same old tricks of just infighting.
Look, it's a bit untidy, but isn't it motivated by the right impetus? This is the Nationals talking about the need to look after farmers and regional communities hit by drought, saying that they need to do more and putting up a plan for government to consider.
Well, there's no question that the Nationals and the government as a whole need to do more about the drought. I mean, what we found out through Senate estimates this week is that only about 14% of the funds that Scott Morrison and his government are talking about spending on drought is actually available here and now. But the tragedy is here that everyone wants to see more support for farmers and drought-affected communities, but it's actually taken the Nationals being exposed as not doing enough to actually get them to pull their fingers out. You know, it's only because One Nation on the one hand, Labor on the other, a range of stakeholders including the NFF, the media, have actually exposed the fact that the Nationals aren't doing what they need to do. That's actually got them started. So really, this latest plan from the National Party, it's not a plan to save the drought, it's a plan to save the National Party, and it's a real shame that they haven't been motivated to act for their constituents well before now.
What worries me about their plan of giving $10 million allocations to drought-affected communities is that it's got that smell of Labor's stimulus package about it, flooding organisations with money, telling them to go out there and spending it. There's no doubt it would lead, no doubt it would do some good, but there's no doubt also it would lead to a lot of wastage and perhaps rotting, just like we saw in your own party's stimulus package when you're in government under Kevin Rudd.
Well, of course, I'm happy to defend what Labor did at the time under Kevin Rudd, and the fact that we averted the worst of the GFC is the proof in the pudding. But turning to the Nationals, yeah, look, they don't have a great record when it comes to spending money. They're the masters of pork barrelling right across the country. But I don't want to take away from the fact that we do need to be doing more on drought. We do need to be doing more for farmers and for drought-affected communities. But as I say, it's just a bit of a shame that for the Nationals, this has just become a game of one-upmanship. They're worried, they're terrified that in their own backyard, in their own constituencies, that they're being one-upped by Scott Morrison on the one hand, by One Nation on the other, by the shooters and fishers. It shouldn't be about those kind of political games for the Nationals to just do their basic job. If they can't look after farmers, what on earth can the National Party do?
Now, on your own side of politics, Anthony Albanese's been under a lot of pressure, some internal dissent. You've not really changed any policies yet since the election result, not showing that you've taken any lessons from the election loss. So he really needed this win, a good win for him, in the head-to-head battle with John Setka and making sure that he's now out of the Labor Party.
Well, I think it was an important thing for Albo to prevail on this matter, not only, again, as a bit of a win, as you're pointing it, but I think it was an important principle that Labor doesn't think that Mr Setka and the actions that he's undertaken reflect our values. So I think it was important that Anthony took a very strong stand very early. There were people critical of him taking that position, but he has been vindicated in doing so, and I think the Labor Party will be better for it.
The problem here, though, is, of course, John Setka goes, but the CFMEU is still a donor affiliated with the Labor Party, still has a say in Labor Party affairs. It's an aggressive, law-breaking union. Peter Dutton has been out today saying it's the likes of the CFMEU that have led Labor to have softer border protection policies, for instance.
Well, Peter Dutton would say that, wouldn't he? I mean, but I think you've got to draw a distinction between one rogue individual in Mr Setka and a union that is made up of its members, construction workers, in my home state of Queensland, coal miners and other mining workers. They're the people who actually form the union, not individual secretaries or leaders of the union. And I think those coal miners and construction workers have got every right to decide that they want to affiliate to a political party or donate to a political party if that's their wish.
Sure, but you must must have concerns. Beyond John Setka, you must have strong concerns about other leaders within the CFMEU and its repeated law breaking.
Well, as I say, I think, as a member of a union, I think that a union is really an organisation of its members. I know many CFMEU members, construction workers, mining workers. I know members of other unions who only want to see the best for their workers, for their workplaces and for their workmates.
Sure, but if I could just, sorry to interrupt, Senator Watt, I just want to clarify, we all get that about the members and you support the members of the CFMEU, but you do not still hold grave concerns for some aspects, some people in the CFMEU leadership around the country in what is viewed by many as a rogue union, the way they operate.
Well, I know that some people see them that way, but as I say, I think that Mr Setka was an individual case that had to be dealt with. I'm sure you'd agree that at Sky News there's probably some presenters there who you might not be particularly comfortable associating with, but it doesn't mean that the entire...
I'm very happy with all of my colleagues here at Sky News. I'm not trying to force anyone out here. Yeah, indeed. All right, thanks for joining us, Senator Murray Watt. I appreciate it.
No worries, Chris. Thanks, mate.